Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Julia and I'm a certified Montessori instructor, and I'm also a mum of a 2.5-year-old named Isaac and a stepmom to a 9-year-old named Asher. And today's video is going to be explaining the 2 reasons why I will not be introducing the Montessori beads to my toddler, slash why I have not used them with my older stepson in terms of a Montessori math material. I will also be sharing with you what I have done instead with both of the boys. If you are new here, I'd love for you to subscribe. I make content that is all about implementing Montessori in the more practical and budget-friendly kind of way. So reason number 1 why I will not be purchasing or making the colored beads is because the coloring is very specific to the Montessori math curriculum. So when you introduce those beads there, the red 1, the green 2, the pink 3, all the way to the golden bead, that 10, that is a very visual and concrete way. What you're doing is you're providing the child not only with that concrete representation, this is 1, and the number 1 says 1, this is 2, this is 3. You're also giving them that color scheme to help with that visual memory, so that later on when the beads are used for things like simple addition or subtraction, multiplication, and then later on in things like the snake game, which is long addition, and the multiplication board, which is huge multiplication, and then eventually they wean off of the colored beads into just the golden beads, which is the flat bead frame, and then eventually they're off the beads at all. What you're doing is you're helping them give that coloration so that, for example, they would be able to even just look at the colors and find the sum without even needing to calculate, oh, a red and a dark blue, that's 1 plus 9, that equals a 10. So different combinations of colors automatically equal different things. Now, neither of my children are attending a Montessori school at the moment. My toddler is on the wait list for a couple of preschools, but either way, we have no intention of sending Isaac to a Montessori grade school, and Asher is in a public grade school and will likely be staying in the public system. My opinion is that it would be a disservice to show the colors the way that they are presented in the Montessori math curriculum, because it's not conducive at all to how they would be practicing and learning their math concepts out of the Montessori system, no matter what kind of school they're in, public or a different private school or different, whatever it is. Similarly with my older guy, Asher, if I were to have shown him the beads, he's already had a couple of years in the public system where he's been taught different strategies. And even if those strategies are not necessarily the most effective to him, if I were to show him the colored beads, again, it would be something that he could only do at home because he can't access it or do it at school. And so it would be then just an added thing to keep track of in his head. The second reason why I'm not using the colored beads, although I am using beads, and I will show you in a minute what I've been doing. The second reason is because I think that the colors can be a handicap. And so I mentioned briefly in my first reasoning, because of the colors are meant to help with that visual memorization of things, and then eventually you wean off of it. But that is over what can be a 6-year process. So again, the point of the beads is to give a quantitative representation for each of the numbers from 1 to 10. And then of course you can combine them to make other numbers, etc., etc. I can present that concept without needing the colors, because the idea is that you're seeing the quantity as laid out and you're able to discern visually when it gets bigger, it's a bigger quantity, and when it gets smaller, it's a smaller quantity. So I'm just going to show you what I made, and then what I also presented to my toddler about a week ago, and currently what he is working on doing by himself. Okay, so what I did to make my beads is I literally took bamboo skewers, and I had these wooden beads, which I bought so long ago, and I just put them on and then just put some hot glue on either end to keep them on. They're not the prettiest, but they are evenly sized and they can be formed into that nice pyramid, which is kind of what I wanted. And then these are just the tiles from the hundreds board, which I had purchased a long time ago, which I will get to in a second. So my first presentation was simply just showing him. So Isaac didn't do anything. All I did was I took each one and I said, this is one. This says one. And then I laid them all out all the way down to 10. And then we did a 3-period lesson. So I said, which one shows 3? And I wanted him to point at the beads. Which one says 3? The number. All the way. That was the first presentation and the first 3-period lesson. The second was I put out the tiles and he found the beads. And this was a good one because he had to count them. And that's really what I wanted to get at in terms of as opposed to the color, because it's very easy to just look at the color and then you almost mindlessly forget what it represents because you're just memorizing the colors. So rather than memorizing the colors, which as I mentioned before, I didn't really want to show because it's not transferable into any of the current education systems that either of the boys are in. So I wanted him to count. 8. Okay. This is going to be on his shelf now for maybe another week or so. And then I'm going to put it away and we're going to work on the teens. And I'm going to be hopefully DIYing the teens board. So I'm hopefully, if I figure out a good way to do that simply, because you know me, I'm really lazy. I don't like to cut or saw or do anything. So might get around to doing that, but that's on the shelf now. And that's it. That is really it on how I have introduced beads to show the representation of each of those numbers. I do think that they are a superior way of showing the quantity, but if you don't have beads or if you don't feel like making anything, honestly, even putting Lego pieces together or anything really that can visually discern the quantitative value, what works for you to transfer well to your own child's education system. If you are homeschooling and following the Montessori method through homeschool, you'll likely have purchased the beads, and that'll be in your best benefit because they do transfer throughout the math curriculum. But that's what I do, and that's what we do with Asher. The only math Montessori material that I have shown him or done with him is the stamp game. I'm very sensitive to the fact that if my children are going to public school, it is likely that they are going to be learning their math concepts in a much more abstract way off the bat. So how I can help them is by giving them a concrete way to see that can transfer easily to the abstract that they can just then visualize in their head. Don't think the Montessori coloration is going to be that helpful in terms of allowing for that visualization because it's just so singular to the Montessori math method. Right, hopefully that made sense. And thank you so much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and stay sane somehow. And I'll see you next time. Bye.